Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's RNK Software Club's video for the week. I'm Trevor Conquergood. I'm here with my good friend, Matt from RNK Distributing. How's it going, Matt?
Going well. How about you?
Fantastical. Thank you. It's so great to have you on. I know that so many of our listeners have enjoyed the services of Matt, who, of course, works the support desk at RNK. And you do such an amazing job, Matt. Thank you so much from everybody who I talk to that tells me I got back from Matt even at night or on the weekend. And it's like we all appreciated how hard you work. So that said, you guys all know that Matt has a young family. And so we got to understand that sometimes he can't get back to you until Monday morning. So if that's the case, we understand, Matt, no problem.
Okay.
Hey, dude. What's happening in Knoxville? You guys got any snow?
We do not have any snow, but I understand you do
Yeah, we do.
in Saskatoon.
Yeah, it's winter here for sure up in Saskatoon, but you can have a little snow in Knoxville if you make your own, right? Have you guys seen
Yeah.
the latest free monthly designs from RNK Distributing for your Floriani software? This one here is kind of the latest in a series, right? Because I think this might have been last year's one. And this was like, I think the first one that I did. So it's kind of like every Christmas I do another big snowflake. I also do small ones. And so there's two small ones. And so and then there's also like the earring size ones, Matt. You can even make teeny tiny snowflakes. I don't make one of these though. I'll do like a whole sheet, like 12 of them all in one hoop, make a set of earrings for everyone in your family, little snowflake earrings. Anyhow, those are the latest free monthly designs. And so you can make it snow in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys have purple snow down in Knoxville. I don't know, but
But orange, we would like orange, yes.
orange, of course. What am I talking about? As if it would be purple. So you get some good questions, Matt. And have you got any for me today?
Yes. We got one earlier today. Someone did a monogram and a name in a font. And they had a question about why there were extra jumps like in the middle of a letter,
Right.
or of a fancy font letter.
I have seen that before
and
too.
how you would fix that.
Good question. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's the one that you sent me the email for that said Zoe. Okay, so we can definitely look at that on screen. Okay, any other questions you want to ask me today?
We're also getting a lot of questions about the new update. When's it coming?
That's exciting. Yeah. So thank you for asking, Matt. It's true that we have been working on an update for quite some time, and we're excited to get it out. It's coming very soon, and I think that people can expect sort of some holiday gifts from RNK. So coming soon, very soon. Go ahead and check your website, coming soon, or expect an email from us. But thanks for asking about that. So help for Zoe is my pleasure. Let's go on my screen and look at that, Matt. And then if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. So we'll see what you got. But let's go on screen. And so I can just hide my thing. So this is the design that you sent me. And I see the jumps, and I think probably lots of people have come across a time or two when something like this happens. The one thing I'll say, kind of the one glimmer of hope, I think we can make this smarter, and it is something that we will put in or have put in actually already to learn about the software to be a little bit smarter. But I can explain what's happening, and then maybe it's not a big deal to fix it. If you really want if you don't fix anything, I guess what happens is as it's sewing this letter off, it gets to a point where it finishes sewing, and then it jumps to finish that little bit, right, to get to that last little bit. And so your machine would do like a little it may jump or it may trim. It looks like it just jumps across. And there's another one over here in the Y. And so there's the question, isn't it? Why? So when I select on this text, notice that when I look in my properties box, I can't see the font. So when that happens, like this design, I didn't make it, somebody sent it to me. They used a font that I don't have, is what it is, right? So it's not my font. So it does make it a little bit harder for me to demonstrate this, Matt, because I don't have the font. And what this really, when this most often happens is when you're using the true type fonts, right? Because if you uncheck true type font and you go to your built-in fonts, you don't often have those extra jumps. You know, the software's understanding it better. So what it's about is the auto digitizing when you do a true type font, right? When you convert letters into, so when you check off this TTF, the software will be sort of like allowing you to work with the fonts that come with your Windows, you know, and there's lots that you can get and download. And sometimes they just work perfectly, right? It's like I can grab, you know, one of these kind of block style ones and click apply, and it'll probably seem like sort of almost flawless. But there are times, and that one was like a scripty one. So if we scroll down and we look for like a scripty one, you'll find that maybe we can find something like that, right? So here's one called brush script. And if I use brush script, let's see now, if I look closely, is there any kind of jumpies in it? And so I kind of see one right there, right? Can you see what I'm talking about with that Y? So it is there, you know, maybe at first glance it wasn't there, but so there's evidence of this, right? Of what's going on. So what that means is when it does that Y, it's kind of gotten a little bit confused, and it does a little jump across at from this column to that column. So okay, yes, we want to try and you know, make the software to never do that, but what's happened is it's auto digitized, and it's got to do with the way it branched it all together. Now currently, for us to work on that, we would need to do what's known as break apart the text, right? So once you see how it says here that it's like a text segment and has a T and the word Zoe is in here, well, if I break apart the text, all of that kind of goes away. We can't, you know, right now I can just change the font and be like, oh, didn't like brush script, let's try another one, you know. But if you're like, no, I want brush script, and you know, I've got 100 of these to embroider and I don't want to have that extra little jump. Can you get rid of it, Trevor? Yeah. And there's more than one way to get rid of it. So we'll talk about the, you know, I'll give you two. How's that? I'll give you two different ways. You can take your pick. But so the first one, so here's the thing. Let's make a copy of it. So two ways. So we'll have two copies of the word Zoe. And because what I need to do is right click and then say break up text. So right click is like when you select text, this is an option to break it up. So it's under right click, break up text. And so notice after I broke up the text that this sort of second one that's down at the bottom is now 4 letters and not like the word. And so I can no longer change the Z to a different font. It's really not even a Z as far as the software is concerned. That's a satin path, right? Really, the whole word is made up of 4 satin paths, and that's where the software has gotten confused. Is this satin path has this confusion, and what it's actually to do with is the entry and the exit points. So what I did was I selected the letter Y, the one that we're having the problem with, and I went to the shape tool. So with the shape tool, you can see the kind of inner information like the red exit point, or somewhere on here, there will be a green entry point. See how the green entry and the green red exit point? Well, so now we come back to like, this is kind of timely because wasn't it just last week? The video of the week was about the satin path and how a satin path works. So really the Y became a satin path. And when we talk about satin paths, just as a reminder, there's the yellow inclination lines. Those are the stitch directions, and you can change them. And then, you know, if I hit enter, changes the way the stitching goes. There's the orange divide lines, which I can move and change the way the stitching goes. See how I can move those? Those are the split lines, I guess. And then there's the pink outline. That's the shape that has its little blue points that, make up the shape that you can also edit. And finally, there's the red and the green entry and exit. And you can control where all those things are. And you can turn them on and off with these buttons here, right? The first one was on off for the outlines. The second one was on off for the inclination lines. The third one was on off for the split lines. And finally, the last one was on and off for the entry and exit. So for example, if you're having troubles finding that entry and exit, you can hide the inclinations and hide the split lines. And, if you need to, you could even hide the outline and be like, oh, there's the green and the red points right there. So here's the point of it now. I'm sorry for going into detail to explain it, but if you want to get right down to it, yeah, I can totally fix this. The reason it's confused has to do with the fact that there's three sort of shapes that are branched together, or there's one shape that has three parts, right? Is really what it is. There's really just the one outline, but it has this piece, it has this piece, and it has this piece as determined by the orange lines that made the splits, right? There's a split and there's a split. So coming down to the real root of the problem, the entry and the exit are on the same piece, and it confuses the software, to get right down to it. If I make it start here and I make it end over here and I hit enter, problem solved. So it is a simple fix if you get it, right? And that's why I thought last week's video was such an important one, because the reality is when you auto digitize stuff, the software makes things with really one of three basic tools: the run stitch, which means it's an outline, or a fill stitch, or a satin path, which means it's filled in with thread. And in the satin paths case, you have rules like inclination lines and split lines. And once you understand how a satin path works, you can totally take control of them and fix them. And so it's not perfect, and we'd like the software to be able to have, figure out that a little better so we can give it in as feedback. But for today, I could totally fix it. So that was one way, to break apart the text and then move the entry and exit on the piece that's broken. And I bet if I had her original font, I could have fixed both the Z and the Y without too much extra effort. That said, there's another way, and it's also one of my favorite ways, and it's more universal because you can do it even with designs that you bought, and that is to work on the stitches, right? So we have stitch editing mode in the software where you can edit stitches. And so to use stitch editing mode, you turn on the stitch tool here. And when you turn on the stitch tool, you can actually select a stitch, right? Any stitch. See, all I have to do is highlight over that stitch to select it and go, oh, that's the problem stitch right there. It's like it's going right across the divide here, when it got to there, whatever was kind of how I pull it apart here or there, that was where it came from, right? And why'd you do that? How silly is that, right? So I could just break it down and be like, well, all right, how about if I go backwards across this line, and then maybe you have to add a couple points is the point. It's kind of tight in here. So I'm going to do this. I'll move out, I'll right click, and I'll say insert after. So assuming that I'm going to move that point back to where it was supposed to be, and I'm trying to get from here to there. Here, I made a mess of it. Let me hit undo and put it back to where it was like originally everything was. Okay, so you found the design and you open it up. And so what you want to do is turn on stitch mode and find the point that's the mess, right? Okay, that's the one. And it's right before that I want to see how this is kind of like it came from here and it went to there. I believe we could verify that just by using our slow redraw tool down here to kind of like scroll forward until it gets to, oh, here. Maybe it's easier to do it. I'm going to leave stitch mode. I'm going to click back on the select tool. So with the select tool, I could slow redraw. So I'm going to watch it stitch out and just remember, okay, yeah, so it does do this is where it's coming from, and then it jumps over to there. And what I probably want to do is just maybe instead of cutting across, I'm going to kind of backtrack and like walk across the stitching. So I'm just going to add a couple stitches is the point, Matt. All I got to do is if you got some design and you don't like the way it sews, you can literally go in and edit the stitches. So you go to stitch tool. Now it changes a little bit. See, because the slow redraw tool went away. And there's some stitch tools down at the bottom, but we're not fully prepared to talk about those right now. All I want to show you is I can zoom in and find that stitch and say, okay, so you go there. I'm going to right click and say insert stitches before. So see now how I'm attached to like in between those two stitches. And what I can do is go, okay, so if I'm there, if I walk backwards here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. Now, why did I get right click? Oh my God. I went the wrong way. Here, I've messed this up. Let me hit undo. Yeah, all that's gone. Whew. Okay, let's try again. Take the stitch tool. That is not the stitch. See, I'm put it in the wrong way. It's this stitch. No, that one. Oh, where are you coming from? That's the end of the whole design. Holy moly. This was the one I wanted to do. So I guess I got to kind of put back all the ones that I messed up there. Sorry. So this is where I'm saying before that stitch. So I know I'm going to put that one back, but what I'll do is I'll right click and say before that stitch, I want to go back to here, then there, here, there. Now I'm kind of close enough. I can go across and here, and then right click. So I did the same thing again. Where am I getting confused? Oops, stitch tool. No, mess this up, Matt. It's supposed to be easy to insert the stitches. And I said I was inserting before this one, but they got inserted. Okay, undo. Let's try one more time. I don't know what the heck's wrong with me today, but let's try. So stitch editing is maybe not the easier way to do it. That said, I'm good at this. I'm just not getting it right. So it was this stitch here. No, it's that stitch there. Yeah, that goes across, right? So that's the stitch, 100%. That is the stitch that goes across. So we select that stitch and we right click. So maybe it's insert after is what I've got. Yeah, it's insert after. And so there I am attached in between the two. And so it's there and I want to kind of like backtrack. So from that stitch kind of back along the same stitches, just sort of like zigzagging across them. And then I'm close enough there that I feel like I could do that and then right click. So and then all I have to do is kind of like fix that one that I pulled out. So there, I fixed it and I satisfied that I could do it. And it really is simple if you get it too. I just was, I don't know, like having a bad moment. But so I'm sorry that it's that to do. Honestly, if you're working with the built-in 300 and some odd fonts, it's usually not a problem. You know, I want to say one more thing about what we just did. So I fixed this, right? But if you do anything to this text, it's going to get lost because we made stitch edits to a text segment. Well, just as an example, if I make it bigger. Oh, that darn stitch is back and got across the middle again there, right? What happened? Why did it get lost? Well, because when you make stitch edits, the software doesn't remember them, or at least it's not that it doesn't remember them. It's when it generates new stitches, it loses them. It's making all new stitches again. So there is a fix for that too. That's why I brought it up. So first of all, don't be surprised if you make stitch edits and then they go away. So if you make stitch edits and you don't want them to go away, undo. So there, it's back to kind of my fix again is there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and say preserve as stitches. So if I say preserve as stitches, it makes it into a bank of like stitches. And it really is no longer very editable other than with your stitch editing tool, because we can no longer change the font or the density or the underlay or any of the other settings, that we gave all that up when we decided to do stitch edits. So if you're making designs and you want to do stitch edits, just save them as stitches. Then you can really dissect them as stitches and do stitch editing as stitches. So for example, if I turn on my stitch tool, I can still change the spacing between the E and the Y. I just do it in a different way, because I'm editing the stitches. So we'll do more videos about stitch editing kind of in the future, Matt. I think that would be worthwhile, but I think this was an interesting video, perhaps over the head for some of the newer owners. And if that's the case, just let this go. It wasn't for you. You can come back to this video a year from now when you're ready for it, right? But, if you were ready for it, because of course we have a real diverse group of software owners, maybe that was the video that you really just needed. And so kind of a weird one for this week, Matt. But my pleasure. And yes, there is an update with lots of great new things to learn about coming very soon. So the wheels are in motion to kind of release it. And so everybody can look forward to seeing that in the near future, Matt. So yeah. Are there any holiday hours at RNK that will be closed? Obviously, like Christmas Day is one, or I know that obviously, but is there any sort of other days they should know about?
Yeah, I believe we're closed on the 23rd and the 26th.
Nice. So we get a nice long weekend for Christmas. So I hope you guys enjoy that very much. And yeah, so thank you for everything, Matt.
All right. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for that information today.
Well, I hope everybody liked it. You're welcome. Okay. Until next time, have a great day. Thanks for listening, everybody.